What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to answer a question which has been puzzling me and a bunch of other people for quite a while. Who is Sony's mascot? Well, who's the PlayStation mascot? We know when we think about Nintendo platforms like Mario, and yeah, there's plenty of others. There's Zelda and Metroid. Yeah, I just did that to trigger people. Obviously, it's Link and Samus. And then we've got stuff like Pikachu for Pokemon, but really, Mario is the mascot. There's plenty of others who are good and who are related to Nintendo platforms and people think about, many of whom you might prefer. I'll tell you a secret, I like Kirby more than I like Mario. But I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, there's no such thing for Sony, so we need to have a little bit of a gander. And if we go right back to before the release of the PlayStation 1, Sony's first console, we had Polygon Man. I know, right? It was used in a lot of the early marketing, and then it was dropped. Because look at it. It's completely uninspiring. There's nothing good about Polygon Man. Now, to be fair, you got to take yourself back to the 90s when the PlayStation was being launched. 3D gaming was in its infancy, and a character made out of polygons genuinely was a like, whoa, kind of thing. But there was no personality. Now, what was kind of cool, there was a fighting game in the vein of Super Smash Bros., PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale, which was released for the Vita and the PS3, which featured a whole bunch of the classic Sony characters, and Polygon Man was the final boss in that game, which makes me a little bit happy, but no, he never stood a chance. As far as I'm concerned, when I was growing up, in the PS1 era, we had Crash Bandicoot. He was the man for PlayStation 1. If you were a PlayStation gamer, this was what you would use to yell at your Nintendo playing friends. There were even adverts where Crash Bandicoot rocked up to the Nintendo headquarters and shouted through a megaphone. And these games were good on the PlayStation 1. They were developed by Naughty Dog, and spoiler alert, they're coming back up again on this list. And they were excellent games. You had the original 3 Crash Bandicoot games, and then Crash Team Racing, and they were great, great games. And then it stopped. And since 2000, Naughty Dog hasn't made Crash Bandicoot games. And Crash Bandicoot has gone multi-platform. And before the year and right up to the year 2000, I could accept a really strong argument that Crash Bandicoot was the mascot of Sony PlayStation. He's not anymore. And we could say a very similar thing about Lara Croft. Lara Croft was synonymous with the PlayStation. Now, to be fair, the original Tomb Raider did launch on the PlayStation and on the Sega Saturn, but straight after that they were exclusive to PS1, Tomb Raider 2, Tomb Raider 3, and the 4th game had a timed exclusivity to PlayStation, but then it came out on the Dreamcast in the year 2000. And since then, Lara Croft hasn't been a PlayStation mascot. Sure, Lara Croft and Tomb Raider games have come out on PlayStation consoles, but they haven't been PlayStation games like they were. And I'm sorry, Crash Bandicoot, but Lara Croft was the character that brought the PlayStation into the 3D age. This was the big, wide-open 3D game on the PlayStation. This was the game that introduced PlayStation gamers to true 3D gaming, and I will stand by that. Of course, as you can see from the recent redesigns, which are far more appropriate, the original Lara Croft was overly sexualized and maybe not exactly the most appropriate mascot for a video gaming console, but she was very popular, and there were a lot of posters on a lot of walls, but she abandoned the PlayStation long ago. Someone who didn't abandon the PlayStation but just went away, PARAPPA the Rapper. I adore PARAPPA the Rapper. Here's the thing though, we had PARAPPA the Rapper on the PlayStation, and then we had PARAPPA the Rapper 2 on the PlayStation 2. Yeah, that's it. Yes, there was Jammy Lammy, but that was a spin-off game. It wasn't a proper sequel. PARAPPA the Rapper has stayed true to the PlayStation brand. It just went away. And once again, we've got another character. It's 2001. 2001 was the last time we had a PARAPPA the Rapper game. It's 2018, and I'm going to be honest, we've only got just over a week left of this year. I don't think we can count PARAPPA the Rapper anymore. And the last real mascot on the PS1, Spyro. The original trilogy was a PlayStation trilogy. It was developed by MNIAC Games. They made this year's Spider-Man, which is amazing, and it's not the last time we're going to see them on this list. And Spyro was synonymous with the PlayStation. This was one of those games that PlayStation owners were really proud of. Until the year 2000, when Spyro went multi-platform, and other developers got a hand on it. And I know we had Spyro Reignited this year, and that's adorable, and Spyro is back in the public consciousness, which is great. Nothing against Spyro, except that I'm colorblind, and when I was that young I just thought it was a blue dragon because I didn't know what purple was. I'm sorry. But I don't think we can count it as a PlayStation mascot. And that's a sad thing, right? As far as I'm concerned, back on the PS1, we had 4 options for the PlayStation mascot. Crash Bandicoot, Lara Croft, PARAPPA the Rapper, and Spyro. All of whom either went multi-platform or just went away. The last remaining one of these, the most recent of these to truly be the PlayStation mascot, was PARAPPA the Rapper in 2001. So let's move on to the PS2, shall we? And the PS2 gives us what might be the answer to this question. Kratos. Kratos came around in God of War in 2005, and this was the showcase game for the PlayStation 2. It was IGN's Game of the Year, and it has had showpiece central titles on the PlayStation 2, on the PlayStation 3, and then this year on the PlayStation 4, God of War was relaunched, and, well, the Game Awards gave it Game of the Year, and IGN gave it Game of the Year, and let's face it, it's the best Game of the Year. And the fact that it launched 13 years ago with a Game of the Year, and then has relaunched, reimagined 13 years later with a Game of the Year, really does make a strong case for Kratos to be the Sony mascot. Yes, it's violent. It's a very violent game. But clearly Sony is allying itself with this. And clearly this is a very important character for the PlayStation brand. There were 2 exclusive games on the PSP, though it does make me sad that Kratos never found his way over to the PS Vita. Yes, I know the original trilogy was re-released there, but we all know it wasn't a great port, and we all know it wasn't an original game. But the PS2 also gave us a couple of pairs. We had Jak and Daxter. Stop me if you've heard this one before. It was developed by Naughty Dog, and there were 3 games plus a racing game developed by Naughty Dog, just like with Crash. The thing is, how many non-PlayStation gamers are going to name Jak and Daxter? And there hasn't been a new game since The Lost Frontier in 2009 on the PSP and PS2. I don't think Jak and Daxter ever had the visibility that Kratos or Crash Bandicoot have had. And I feel the same about Ratchet and Clank. Now, they were developed by MNIAC, just like Spyro. And to be fair, Ratchet and Clank did have a reimagining on the PS4 and a movie in 2016, so they are a lot more recent than some of the other games on this list. But just like with Jak and Daxter, if you find people who are hardcore Nintendo gamers or hardcore Microsoft gamers, how many of them are going to talk about Ratchet and Clank? I don't think very many. Although I did enjoy the spin-offs Daxter and Secret Agent Clank on the PSP, I am a weirdly hardcore PSP gamer. Now, the PlayStation 3 really came back with some real attempts to get some good mascots going, and probably the most successful of this was Nathan Drake. Once again, we're talking Naughty Dog, Jak and Daxter and Crash Bandicoot Say Hello, and Nathan Drake came around in Uncharted. And Uncharted 1, 2 and 3 were some of the best and most beloved games on the PS3. Uncharted 2 has gone down as one of the best games ever. And you know that there are some Nintendo and Microsoft gamers that are a little bit jealous about this. They are phenomenal games. Not to mention you had Golden Abyss on the PlayStation Vita, although the worst thing about that was it showed us how good first-party games could be on the Vita, and then it sold really badly and nobody ever tried that hard again. That's how good Vita games could have been. I'm also a sneaky big Vita gamer. And then PS4 came around with Uncharted 4, which is one of the best games on the PS4. And Uncharted has been going strong. Now, it was a bit of a late contender, coming in the PS3 era. But can anyone really argue that it hasn't produced some of the best PlayStation games in the last few years? And some of the most visible games? But I don't know how I feel about Sackboy. Sackboy came around in Little Big Planet, and my wife adores Little Big Planet. She likes playing it just so she can annoy me with Sackboy. And Sackboy's lovely, right? But here's the thing about Sackboy. What happened to Sackboy? We had a couple of games, and it was on the PS3, it was on the PS4, it was on the PSP, it was on the PS Vita. Sony went hard, and there were not many of these mascots that had exclusive games on the PSP and the PS Vita. This was the only one. But what happened? Because since 2004, we've had nothing. Little Big Planet 3 was released on the PS3 and on the PS4, and it was 4 years ago. Where's Sackboy gone? Now, Sackboy did get a kart racing game, as did a weirdly large number of games on this list. Apparently, when Sony has a mascot, they try chucking him into a kart racing game. Although that does ruin the argument a little bit for Nathan Drake, who didn't have a kart racing game. Although did have a trading card game. And Sackboy fits what a mascot should be. He's kind of cute. And you can make teddies out of him and plushes. And what happened to Sackboy? Now, since the PS4 came around, Sony haven't really been doing much with mascots. Obviously, we've had Nathan Drake, he's come back, and Sackboy, and Kratos came back with a vengeance. But in terms of new mascots on the PS4, the only one I'm going to point towards is Aloy. Horizon Zero Dawn, which incidentally was my favourite game of last year, bar none, and is a phenomenal game. And look, if you want a mascot, we've actually got a strong woman, which is something that a lot of companies are looking for in mascots nowadays. And this isn't some hypersexualized Lara Croft back on the PlayStation. This is a genuinely good mascot. How many of the mascots on this list that I've shown you can genuinely be looked up to by younger girls? Very few of them. In comes Aloy as a great one. And here's the thing, right? The reception to this was great. It has been the biggest launch of a new intellectual property on the PlayStation 4, and the only one that could really lead us towards calling it a mascot. And I don't think Aloy's there yet, but I think Aloy's on the way, and certainly if I could choose one that I want to be the mascot, I'm going for Aloy. As a side note, I'm not counting Cloud because it's Final Fantasy VII. That seems cheeky. Cole McGrath from Infamous. I mean, how many non-PlayStation fans are talking about this? It's not been a real highlight game. Sly Cooper wasn't on the PS1 and went away in 2013. I'm not calling it relevant enough. And I've seen a couple of answers from Tekken. And I suppose you could kind of argue Tekken as a PlayStation mascot, but it went multi-platform and there's too many characters and I'm not counting them. So if we have an answer, here's the best answer I can give you. Back on the PS1, it was Crash Bandicoot. No argument there. But Crash Bandicoot went away. Nowadays, I think we've got two options for Sony's mascot. We got Nathan Drake and we've got Kratos. But given that Kratos has been around longer, and given that Kratos has just been in Game of the Year and is clearly being pushed, I think that if I had to give you an answer right now for who the PlayStation mascot is, it's Kratos. But this is not a straightforward question with a straightforward answer, so get yourselves over to the comment section and get arguing down there. Go nuts, ladies and gentlemen, but please do remember the rule. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we can talk about video games and such. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.